672 KROE. That's 672 5763. Now, your host for Public Pulse, Floyd Whiting.
Good morning and welcome to Public Pulse. It is the first day of spring. Although we will more than likely see a few more snowstorms, the temperatures will begin to warm up and sites and museums will begin to open back up to the public. Joining me this morning is Wyoming State Historical Site Superintendent Sherry Shada. Welcome back to the show, Sherry.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you and I were talking before. Someone needs to remind Wyoming that spring is here.
Yes.
It's getting a little drawn out, I think, at this point. February for me ended up being the longest month of the year, even though it doesn't have that many days in it. But boy, the thing felt like it took forever. How you been doing this winter?
Good. We've been very busy.
Have you?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the tasks that you and your team actually do at these different sites, because you're the superintendent of a couple different sites.
Yes.
And just real quick, are all of those teams separated? Or is it kind of just one big team? We all go from one site to the other and clean it up, or...
It's half and half. Two of us spend our time at Trail End and Fort Phil Kearny, but we also have people at both those sites who just stay at those sites and take care of them. And then Keyhole State Park is in our district, and they have a lot of the knowledge on how to get things done. So they said they consider themselves our district maintenance men because they came over to Fort Phil Kearny and we're looking at our observatory last week. They helped me at the LX bar when I have things that have to be taken care of out there. So we do have people at each site. Some of us split our time and some of us generously give time to sites that need help.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to have like a maintenance individual at every site.
We do. We have to have that too. But for bigger projects, it's nice to have backup.
You got your team.
Yeah.
Now, what do you really do at these sites during the winter season? So I know it's probably varied, but let's take Trail End State Historic Site.
Sure. It's our time to do things that are hard to do when we're open to the public. So deep cleaning, vacuuming curtains, things like that. We installed a new exhibit, but our biggest project this winter was removing water damage plaster from the basement and fixing old water damage plaster on the second floor. And that was a big project. You can't really do that when the public is also trying to walk through and see the space.
Where did the water damage come from? Is this old or is this?
Well, on the second floor, there was an ice dam in one of the valleys of the roof. And so we installed some heat trace to keep that water moving going down the gutter. And we wanted to make sure that problem was fixed because it had come in that way. Now that that's fixed, we can fix the ceiling. In the basement, though, it's a historic problem. They have been battling this for 100 years.
Oh, wow.
It's just what we discovered when we pulled the plaster away. The concrete has tiny little holes in it, I don't know.
Porous.
It's very porous. So like today, we'd shake it and try to get those bubbles out. I don't know what they did, but there's little holes in it, and groundwater has been seeping in.
Wow. So that's going to be a historic problem over and over? Or
Yes,
have
it
they
is.
figured out a way to seal that?
Well, no, we have tried digging a trench around the whole foundation and installing water barrier, taking off damaged areas, redoing them, repainting. Nothing has worked. So in the part, it was bad. This plaster, you could just pick it off with your fingers. We've taken it down to the concrete and painted it to match the rest of the walls so we can monitor what's happening. And this is the same thing the Historic Governor's Mansion has run into down in Cheyenne, and also what they have done. So it's not the prettiest, but now we can see what's happening and address it quicker.
Yeah. Wow. That's it's tragic, but it's interesting at the same time.
Yeah.
It kind of shows you as to why certain practices were developed or abandoned when it comes to construction of our homes. This is a reoccurring problem. It's probably going to happen for the duration of the life of Trail End, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The Kendrick Mansion. Now, how long did that actually take to get that discovered and then try to mitigate that?
Well, our paint had started flaking in the basement, which it does every couple years. And when our maintenance man there went to scrape the paint and repaint it, that's when he discovered how soft the walls are. And I'd say maybe a whole month from start to finish. He took all the wet plaster off. He got the paint matched and repainted. And it wasn't just one area. So, yeah, he was very busy.
Porous concrete causes issues.
Water is very damaging.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I would have to say that water is probably, and I'm sure there's construction guys out there who may, say something different, but I would think that water is probably the most damaging of like the elements that face our homes on a daily basis. And when you comes down to why we've changed that, I never knew, that it was such an issue. But I imagine people who have older homes would probably say, yep, there it is. I deal with the same thing.
Yep.
Now, the Trail End State Historic Site will open up pretty soon.
It will. Saturday, April 1st is our first day open to the public, and we will be open 7 days a week from 1 to 4 p.m. every afternoon through May, and starting in June, we'll be open all day for summer hours.
Now, you've got a faithful following, I would say, of individuals who like to visit this mansion every year. Some people probably going through there, and they know the plaques by heart at this point, but there is a new exhibit, something that you mentioned a little earlier, and this is a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, it was really fun. Every year we change up our exhibits and our text panel so that for our repeat visitors, they have something new to learn. This year it is called If These Walls Could Talk, Personal Stories from Inside the Mansion. And the family were such writers. I feel bad. It's like they were never together, which was bad for them, but good for us, because when they were apart, they wrote about everything. And so, somebody's always traveling for something, and or maybe they're writing in their diary. And so things have been written about each room of the house. And so it's kind of like stepping back in time and imagining for a second what was happening at this time on this day in this room.
Wow. Now, was it by train that they talk about traveling mostly?
Yes.
Yeah, because was he serving in the government at the time that the mansion was up here?
Yes, he became governor 18 months after they moved into Trail End.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, he probably took train to Cheyenne quite a bit.
He was, yes, everywhere. Yeah.
Whereas before, nowadays, that's, 2 days? You go down there, get your business done, maybe sleep, drive home.
Yeah.
And from what you can tell, how long did it kind of take to go down, do your services to the state, and then return home?
Well,
weeks?
I don't know. It just kind of, I think, depended on their schedule. I don't know how long it took to get down there. But the length of time they stayed would depend on what they were doing. And so, for example, when he was a United States Senator and living in Washington, he was gone from about November through April in Washington. Wow. And then he might stay a little longer, and his family would come home for the summer and he would join them. Or maybe he's out campaigning for somebody like Nellie Taylor Ross, our first female governor. He was just everywhere.
Yeah. And while he was out, the family would write.
Yes.
Now, some of these writings, are they mostly, I miss Dad or Dad's away?
Yeah. So let's see. When the senator, John Kendrick, would write to his family, he would always say that he missed them, say what he was doing or a funny thing someone told them. But when he would write to his son, especially when his son was managing the ranches, there's a whole bunch of ranch talk in there. Yeah. Because that's what they were communicating about, which is really neat to see, how they're using each place. What are they worried about? The daughter would write letters. We have a lot that we're going through right now. She was not engaged. She dated her husband for 5 years before he finally got her to say yes.
It's a long courtship.
Yeah, it was. And then, so she has a ton of information, just daily activities.
Yeah.
Daily activities. Their son didn't write as much, Manville, because a lot of the letters start with, to him, I wish you'd write more, or from him that say, I'm so sorry, you know how I am. Yeah.
That's such an interesting aspect of history, having that amount of writing that you can sit and read. How many of these letters, journals have you sat down and just kind of pored over and really learned who these people were?
Yeah, we have hundreds. We have the daughter Rosa May's diaries from the early 1900s up to I think the 70s before she passed. And she wrote every day in her diary. And it was just a couple lines. And and that just gives you a really good feel for what the family was doing at different times, which is really interesting. And then when their son Manville got married, his wife Diana came here from Washington, D.C., and she wrote her mother extensively. And we have a ton of information from those letters. Like they could never find enough help, servants, or this is what the babies are doing now, that kind of thing. We have hundreds of these things. And to prep for this exhibit, I spent a couple months reading them all.
Wow. And how personable do some of these get?
Very.
And even, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And then like, even for you, as you're reading these, do you find moments where you're like, oh, yeah,
yes.
I feel your pain there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There's one from, the daughter-in-law, Diana, about being a new mom. And she is so stressed out. And she's like, I'm sorry I'm not writing more. Don't get mad at me. But here's what I do every day. I barely have time for myself. I'm like, oh man. Yes, you're an exhausted new mom. I get it.
You spent most of last night up trying to feed somebody who's pretty ornery. I totally understand that. And so, as we go through this new exhibit, are we going to find moments like that?
Yeah. I included something from everybody in the house. Even servants. There was a lady who still lives in Sheridan, and she was a servant in her high school years in the 1940s, and she wrote a memoir about it. It's called 2 Years in the Butler's Pantry by Rose Hill, and it's very insightful, the things that she remembers from her perspective. But Diana wrote so much. I have a letter about Rose saying, we have a maid. She's only 15, but at least we have somebody.
Yeah.
And then Rose's perspective, like I came to the giant front door and it was so intimidating. And, to see the same event from two sides is really interesting too.
And I imagine, growing up in the country and then getting a job at this big, imposing mansion, with this super important family, that would be really intimidating for a grown-up as opposed to just, here's a little girl doing this job. So I think that's an interesting perspective. Now, where did the idea for this exhibit come from? Were you just kind of rifling through some letters and you're like, people should know this stuff?
My coworker, Lindley, our educator, interpretive ranger, and I were speaking, and she said something, and it kind of evolved from that. We were just brainstorming ideas to see what we could do that was new and different.
And it really helps for viewers of this new exhibit to identify with this family.
Yes.
And realize that, wow, Kendricks were human too.
Absolutely.
And went through the same problems that we're going through in this day and age. How long did this take to get all organized and set up? Because I'm sure there was a vetting period where you sat with the letters and you're like, okay, this one, not that one.
Yeah, it took a couple months. I'd say 2 solid months of research and then writing and designing and then getting the room set up, all that.
And everyone contributed to this, going through the letters?
Yes. I did have a winter intern who went through a bunch of letters too, which was really helpful to kind of divide and conquer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With as much writing as there was, you can't spend 24/7 reading, right? What would you say was the greatest challenge when you were organizing and developing this exhibit?
Trying to get Mr. Kendrick's perspective. It seems weird. Here's the guy who built the house. The whole reason it's here is because of him and how successful he was at ranching. But we have so many more letters from other people in his family, hunting down the ones he wrote that talked about Trail End, because he was gone so much of the time. He was a senator for 3 terms. And so basically from 1915 to 33, he was only at the mansion a few months of the year. Wow. And so, trying to find his perspective about Trail End and not and Trail End, not the ranch.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and I'm sure he was probably more concerned with the ranch.
Absolutely,
you know?
he loved
Trail
it.
End will run itself. I'm worried about what's happening with my cattle.
Exactly. So I think, finding his perspective, and I did, but finding his perspective was really challenging.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
And you've got those up down there so we can see Mr. Kendrick's perspective on what he thought about the house and the running of it and things like that.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fascinating. All right, more with the Wyoming State Historical Site Superintendent, Sherry Shada, when we return. This is Public Pulse on 930 KROE and 103.9 FM. Shared.
First Federal Bank and Trust would like to recognize another winner of $1,000 cash and a $1,000 marketing donation match from Sheridan Media. As part of their community commitment, the Sheridan Rotary Club is receiving these funds per random drawing.
Could your organization be next? We're giving $1,000 to a qualified nonprofit organization every week. Visit our website, efirstfederal.bank, for details. First Federal Bank and Trust and Sheridan Media present Community Commitment, member FDIC.
Find Atlas Chiropractic at their new location, 41 East Burkett. They're still offering the same great service to all new and existing patients. If you have aches and pains or debilitating back or shoulder conditions, call Dr. Colin Hardy, 672-6000. He can alleviate your pain, reduce your physical stress, and boost and maintain your immune system function. With each adjustment, your central nervous system is supported and strengthened. Call Dr. Hardy, 672-6000. Schedule your appointment with the top chiropractic clinic in Sheridan, Atlas Chiropractic, now at 41 East Burkett.
This is Dr. Colin Hardy with Atlas Chiropractic. Be sure to ask us about our new patient specials. Take the first step to a better you. Call 672-6000. That's 672-6000. Your healing begins when you pick up the phone.
Caring for the community's health is a team effort. In Sheridan, we are fortunate to have a wide array of exceptionally trained doctors specializing in over 25 areas of expertise. Each year, Sheridan Memorial Hospital recognizes these outstanding professionals on National Doctors Day, celebrated on March 30th. The board and staff thank all of our doctors for their commitment and service to our community. Please join us in thanking them for providing medical excellence right here at home.
Hi, this is Brad at Prime Rate Motors, where we are looking to buy your clean used vehicles, tractors, ATVs, and much more. We will also down trade and do appraisals. Here at Prime Rate Motors, we are a full service dealership offering quality used cars, trucks, and SUVs. Our Super Trailer store features a wide variety of stock, utility, and cargo trailers. Prime Rate Motors has been making customers happy for decades. See us today at 2305 Coffin Avenue in Sheridan or online at PrimeRateMotors.com.
If you haven't signed up for the Sheridan Media newsletter, you're missing out. Thousands of people have already signed up. You'll find some of the top news stories of the week, community events, sports, weather, updates from Centennial Theater and the WYO Theater. Discover fun facts, local videos, Sheridan history, country bounty links, and your favorite businesses. It's delivered to your email box every Thursday morning. Click on that Sheridan Media newsletter button. It's on the top of our website and sign up, SheridanMedia.com.
Good morning and welcome back to Public Pulse, proudly brought to you by our friends out there at First Federal Bank and Trust. I'm Floyd Whiting. This morning we are speaking with Wyoming State Historical Site Superintendent Sherry Shada. Now, if you are a fan of local history and maybe have some free time, the Trail End State Historical Site needs some volunteers to help out with some guided tours. That's right. Here's your chance to jump in, throw on the name tag, and take us through the mansion. And tell me a little bit about the training for those wanting to become a tour guide at Trail End.
Sure. So we need tour guides mostly for school tours. Third graders learn about Sheridan history, and so we get all the third grade classes. Fourth grade learns about Wyoming history, so that's when we get the out-of-town grade schools. And we train our docents, our tour guides, about how to effectively give a tour so that everybody's interested and it's not boring.
Yeah.
Where to go. We have a very finely tuned system. We can rotate 6 tour groups throughout the house at once without running into each other.
Holy
which
cow.
is pretty impressive. Yeah. And so we've been doing this for a while. And so we just train our volunteers on how to do this with us.
6 at once without bottlenecking. That's pretty
Ideally,
impressive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ideally.
In a perfect world.
Yeah.
Now, are there any prerequisites to coming up and applying, or are you going to teach me everything I need to know?
Yeah, we will teach you everything you need to know. The biggest point is, though, that we need people with daytime work week availability. The schools are coming Monday through Friday, mostly in the morning, sometimes at lunch. And so we need people who have that free time in the morning to give.
Okay, and that may be somewhat on the rare side for a lot of individuals,
It
right?
can be.
Is that the primary challenge to
Yes.
try and finding these volunteers?
Yes, because if you're retired, maybe you might have an easier time than somebody who's working, but the working person has a flexible schedule, so maybe they can work it out. We don't have set hours. You're not assigned a certain day and time. We just let our guides know when we have tours coming, and if they are available, they let us know if they can help.
Now, when it comes to actually touring these classes through the mansion, do we hand off from one guide to the other, or am I with that class from beginning to end?
You are with your group from beginning to end.
Oh, wow. So you learn all about the mansion in this training.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
See, if I had the time, that would be something really fun to do. I think you and I have talked about the look on their little faces when they learn something that they didn't know. And then you see it click where they're like, oh, wow. That's kind of the big goal for
it's
me,
fun.
taking them through there. Now, what other duties actually come with this position? Is it just tour guiding, or do I also, maybe I can lend a hand in cleaning up?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we have jobs for lots of different interests. If you just want to be a tour guide, that's great. We have people who are just tour guides. We have other volunteers who come in and help us decorate for the holidays or work our special events, like serve cookies and lemonade in the summer at our summer evening event, things like that. We use people all the time.
So if you want to contribute more, you can.
Yes.
Well, that's fantastic to hear. Now, Sherry, how do they contact you if they're interested in this?
Yes. So you can call Trail End at 307-674-4589 or find us on Facebook and send us a message. Our page is facebook.com/trailend. No S, not trails, trail.
You did that from memory. That was impressive to see. Well done.
Thanks.
Now, on to something a little more virtual. Trail End has gone online. Tell me about the virtual tour.
We had a volunteer approach us. His name is TJ Parks, and he has spent the last 2 years creating a fully immersive virtual tour for the mansion. So you start outside at the front door. You can pan 360 and see the view. You can go up to the front door and open it, and then you walk inside and you can go left, right, upstairs in the elevator. And then every room has an audio feature. So if you want to hear about the room, you can just click on the audio.
Wow, how cool is that?
It's amazing.
Now, how long did this take to develop?
Yeah, he spent the last 2 years on it.
Man.
So he came in and did all the 360 pictures and linked everything together. I had volunteers come in and read quotes, so it's not just my voice over and over. We had 5 different volunteers come in and lend us their voices. But this is such a good way to come if you've never been there before. We are handicap accessible, but maybe this is easier. Or maybe you want to know what you're getting into before you come. You can do this. You can go on the balcony of the master bedroom, into the master bathroom, places you don't normally get to see on your tour.
Oh, really? See, that's kind of cool. You get a look behind the curtain a little bit.
Do.
Now, that for those of you who've actually been up there, you might learn something new by taking this virtual tour, even if you've walked through the mansion previously.
Absolutely.
So this virtual tour has a little bit for everybody. Where can people see this tour?
Yes, it's on our homepage at trailend.org. It's like the second little box down as you open our homepage.
Now, one more time for me, Sherry. Can we get the hours of operation when we open back up?
Yes. Beginning April 1st, we're open 7 days a week from 1 to 4 p.m.
And one more time, if we want to volunteer and step in and maybe guide a tour sometime this year.
Give me a call, 307-674-4589.
Sherry, thank you so much for coming in this morning. I'm excited about Skylab.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about this morning. I talked to Lindley a little bit about it the other day. I am fascinated with that building.
At the fort, yes.
Yeah, and
yes.
I'm really hoping that they get that up and operational very quickly. If someone wanted to volunteer to help with that, who do they contact?
You can call the mansion, same number, and we will get the message to Lindley. I don't have her phone number memorized.
That's okay.
Yep, but you can reach us on Facebook too, facebook.com/Fort Phil Kearney, or you can, I think, contact us through our Friends Group's website, which is fortphilkearney.com.
Fantastic. Sherry, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stay warm out there.
Thank you.
All right. When we come back, we're going to speak with WYO Theater and WYO Play. This is Public Pulse on 930 KROE, 103.9 FM. Sheridan.
First Federal Bank and Trust would like to recognize another winner of $1,000 cash and a $1,000 marketing donation match from Sheridan Media. As part of their community commitment, the Sheridan Rotary Club is receiving these funds per random drawing.
Could your organization be next? We're giving $1,000 to a qualified nonprofit organization every week. Visit our website, efirstfederal.bank, for details. First Federal Bank and Trust and Sheridan Media present Community Commitment, member FDIC.
The owners and staff at Kane's Funeral Home would like to thank the families of Sheridan and Johnson counties for choosing Kane's and allowing them to serve you during these hard times. Kane Funeral Home makes it their mission to take the stress and uncertainty out of ceremonial services. They own and operate the only crematory in Sheridan County, so your loved one is always in their care. Kane's Funeral Home. Call 673-5837 or visit them online at kanefuneral.com.
You bagged your trophy elk. Now imagine having its ivory handcrafted into the perfect piece of jewelry. At Legacy Diamond & Gems, their in-house jewelers can take your memory of the big hunt and preserve it into fine pieces of jewelry to last generations. Using your imagination, the skilled jewelers at Legacy Diamond & Gems can create something truly exceptional. Visit them at 11 North Main Street or online at legacydiamondgems.com. Hurry in now.
WYO Renovation is not a remodeling company. They're a renovation company. They'll purchase your property, no matter the condition, and renovate it back to its former glory. They're a compassionate and caring company that is wanting to assist those with properties that the owners don't know what to do with, or simply cannot do the work anymore. Find out more at wyorenovation.com. or find them on Facebook.
I'm here today with Candace Crane from Sheridan Honda and Power Sports.
Tommy, hi. Can you believe it's been a year that we've been talking about Sheridan Honda and Power Sports?
Wow, a year. Went by fast.
Agree. And in honor of our 1-year anniversary, we're offering a 2-for-1 special on service. Get your power sport and vehicle service at the same time, and we'll give you 15% off the total bill.
Does it have to be a Honda or Can-Am?
Nope. Our skilled technicians can service all makes and models. Call Manny or Caleb to get scheduled today.
For 15% off your service, call Sheridan Honda and Power Sports today.
Our paint department is stocked up and ready to go. Hi, Kurt Smith here for the Sheridan Commercial Company. We're excited to help you with your next painting project. We have added the PPG line of paints along with our True Value paint line. This allows you so many new and exciting options for your next project. Whether you need help with customized color matching or choosing the right product, we're here to help. Great paint, great store. The Sheridan Commercial Company at 303 Broadway. Open 7 days a week.
Good morning and welcome back to Public Pulse, brought to you by our friends out there at First Federal Bank and Trust. I'm Floyd Whiting. For my next guest, I am joined by the WYO Play lead teacher and the founder, Grace Cannon. Good morning, Grace.
Good
welcome
morning.
Back to the show.
Thank you.
Now, how have things been this winter season? Because, busy. You are busy.
Yeah.
That WYO Play is a hit.
Yeah, it's been a very good season so far. This winter, we kicked off after the holiday break with a few programs, actually. The one that I worked most directly on was the Middle School Drama Club, which is the WYO Play partnership with School District 1. And so I was going out to Tongue River Middle School 2 days a week and Bighorn Middle School the other 2 days a week and doing rehearsals for 7 weeks. And we put together one cohesive show, which we just put up at the WYO Theater a week or so ago.
It was let's see, The Killer Story of the Story Killers.
That's right.
How did that go?
It was great. So that's an original play. We did the world premiere, and we created the story out of familiar folk tales and other familiar stories that we twisted and adapted to our own purposes. But the premise was four young friends sitting around a campfire telling stories and getting them all wrong, mixing them all up. And so they were the story killers because of how things were going with their telling of the stories. And then we created kind of a legend. So in the end of the play, there was the trees, the spirits of the trees retaliated against these story killers. And it was a lot of fun. So we had Hansel and Gretel, Goldilocks. We also had Romeo and Juliet in there, and that story, they lived happily ever after in our version.
Much better version than Shakespeare's ending, right?
Well, it turns out that it's not that interesting unless there's the tragedy. But
now, when it came to splitting this between two separate middle schools, that sounds like it would be a heck of a challenge.
Yeah.
What was your personal greatest challenge in making this come together?
Yeah, it's interesting. This year went really well. In the past, I've been very nervous about how it's all going to come together because it's not a lot of time, and you're in two different schools. And last year, which was kind of our first year really making this happen, there's a rivalry between Tongue River and Bighorn. And so that rivalry was also in there. And I thought, are they going to get along? But this year, there was none of that. They were just excited that they were going to be able to work together. And I just really trusted them that they would pull it together. And we had all those snow days in the middle of it. So when we had a bunch of snow days, I started to get a little nervous again. But ultimately, they're just creative and they work as a team. And so I just had faith that whatever it was going to be pretty fun for their families and the audience. So
I think that's fantastic. So last year they were kind of getting their feet wet.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to have to rub elbows with our rivals
with our rivals, yeah.
But then they had such a good time that going in this year, they were like, nope, no issues whatsoever.
They just couldn't wait.
We know how to do this. Yeah. Let's knock it off. That's fantastic. Now, let's talk about acting out.
Yes.
What is acting out?
Acting Out is an after-school program that we partner with District 2 on, and that is in the elementary schools. So this is a program that has been sort of adapting, changing over the last couple of years, but essentially it's an interactive storytelling program. And our goal is to get it into all 5 elementary schools in the course of a single school year. So far, we've just been able to do a couple at a time, but this year we expanded it. So it used to be a 3-week program where the teaching artist would go into the school and tell a story. And as you're telling the story, the students get to act it out. And there was no product in terms of what was happening there. It was just process. It was just enjoying stories as we went along. But we realized that, people really do love a play and love a performance at the end of something. So we made it a longer program, about 9 weeks. And now at the end of 9 weeks, those students put on their own short play that they create out of these interactive stories. Similar to our middle school program, they take a well-known story and they fracture it, they adapt it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
When you're speaking with these school districts and the superintendents and trying to get the programs going in the schools, what's your biggest challenge? Is it usually like, okay, we're working with limited time? I mean, what's their biggest challenge with that?
I just feel really fortunate. It's been wonderful. There's so much support, actually.
Yeah.
I don't feel as though we've come up against any major roadblocks because there's been a lot of openness to our ideas. And so it just takes time. So anything like this, when you're building it, I think you have an idea and they have to prove that that concept is what you think it is or what you say it will be. And so I don't know exactly if it's a challenge, but maybe it is. You kind of set yourself up to create something and then you kind of have to see if it comes through. So luckily now we're in our third year, we're in a place where we're really being able to say like, look, we did create this thing. It did work. And there's been lots of positive feedback and everybody's interested in collaborating and that feels really good. So
What are the big advantages that you see teaching these children drama, acting, just the theater in general? I mean, what do you really see develop in the kids as they go through these programs?
Well, it makes me want to speak to the middle school program most specifically. It's the most recent example for me, but generally, I think you can generalize it. There's a huge boost in confidence in the way that young people are able to present themselves sort of in the world and in the theater space. And that is so wonderful to watch. I had a student at the beginning of the middle school program who was shy and gave me a note who said, I either want to be backstage or I want to have the main role because I'm not very confident and I want to be more confident. She literally said that. So it's like,
I'm all in or behind the curtain.
Yeah. And you couldn't have asked her to say something more perfectly articulated. But then, so I gave her a big speaking role and it was a brand new experience and she was a little nervous about memorizing all those lines and she did it. And in the end, she just seemed, she was glowing, she really had grown and learned a lot of things, which, you're always planting seeds. That's the other thing you have to remember with this kind of thing. Sometimes you can see a big burst of growth in front of your eyes. And sometimes you just see just a kernel of it, you know, but then if you get to come back year after year and work with some of the same students, then you can start to see how that begins to shape people's I just want to call it confidence. There's so much that goes into that, but their ability to present themselves. So
when I was in third grade, I was cast in a role that was meant for fourth grade and higher.
Yeah.
Just because I was so, open and out about things that they were like, he'll work just fine.
Yeah.
And so I got cast as the king in the Cinderella production.
Oh.
And it's kind of a silly little part, but, you got to be very, loud and confident as the king. And I can remember the individual who was putting this on, working with me and the way that he told me, everyone in the audience is your subject. I want you to come out here and just look at them and know you are king of all that you can see.
Yeah.
And it may sound silly, but being able to stand up there, be somebody else and own that is really what I kind of say. I owned it, as best as I could.
Yeah.
Even at third grade level, I was like, okay, I'm either going to look nervous or I'm going to be the king. And I decided to be the king. And I can remember the confidence that gave me going forward after that. I mean, I think I made, a lot more new friends and speaking to people wasn't that scary anymore.
Yeah.
And the culture that I learned, the theater culture and that acting and theater itself is such a major part of who we are as a people.
Yeah.
I think that, even just that little production of Cinderella
absolutely
paid off so much as I got older. you
Yeah.
know? Now, tell us, how would we join acting out? How if is my kid automatically involved in these things if they're in school district 2?
That's a good question. Acting Out is works in coordination with the after school program that District 2 really works very hard to have. It's a robust program in all of the schools for the elementary level, especially. And so I would say if you're interested in that, if your student is already signed up for the after school program, that's something we're trying to get, again, into all of the schools. Currently, it's running at Sagebrush. Last fall, we ran it at Coffee Inn. And so for next year, we're trying to gear up to be able to be in all of the schools all at once. So you can keep your eye out for that. If it's something where your student is not normally signed up for after school program, but you'd like to maybe get your student involved in this anyway, you can always reach out to the WYO too. We can share more specific information about that.
Now, when it comes to your staff, who goes out and teaches these kids? Because from like sitting here and speaking with you, it's mostly you. Do you have some people that help you out with this acting out program?
I do, and I'm so glad you asked that. I have a wonderful collaborator, Robin Murray, and she is the art teacher at Coffee Inn Elementary, and she has become so vital to this acting out program. Working with her this year is how we've been able to expand it into a 9-week program and create a performance for the students at the end of it. So when I started it, it was small. It was a 3-week thing, and then Robin and I met at the beginning of this school year and brainstormed and came up with this brand new idea. And she is the teaching artist who did the program at Coffee Inn and now at Sagebrush. And she's amazing. I can't speak more highly of her. So.
Oh, see, that's fantastic. So, and it's a teacher that the kids know.
Yeah.
So they can go in there with a little more comfort.
Yes.
You know, I'm comfortable with this individual and I can be a tree,
yeah.
In front of this person without feeling embarrassed. Now, tell me about future filmmakers, because this is something that I've always kind of been fascinated with. Spielberg was making stuff in his backyard with 8mm, and look at him now.
I know.
Tell me about this program.
I'm so excited about this program, and maybe largely because I'm not a filmmaker, so I feel like this is one where I'm learning as I get to help kind of coordinate and administer on it. But it is a partnership with the WYO Film Festival as well as Sheridan Travel and Tourism. So this program was built out of the WYO Film Festival 2 years ago, and then WYO Play joined on board last year, and we ran it through the course of last school year. But it was quite long, and it's hard to get people to really commit for a full school year or into the summer. And so we, again, revamped it. We met at the beginning of this year and we said, how can this is a cool thing. There's not a lot of opportunity for this. Maybe this is a good opportunity for young people. So we made it shorter. We turned it into a 5-week kind of a challenge, and the future filmmakers applied to become part of the program. And at the end of February, we started these sessions, and it's quick, it's fast and fun. It's like, all right, let's talk about story and narrative structure. All right, let's talk about the camera equipment and how you're going to do your shots, and here's the sound audio equipment. So it's like a mixture of different elements of filmmaking, but you go from zero to the full thing, hopefully by the end of 5 weeks. We're in the middle of that 5 weeks. We got a film shoot this weekend coming up. So.
Oh, how cool is that? And now, are we at the point where when we show up to that film shoot, it looks pretty legitimate?
Hopefully. Hopefully it at least looks really exciting. We've got, again, the Sheridan Travel and Tourism is really important for a lot of the equipment that we're using. They've got the real stuff.
They make beautiful films.
Yeah, and they do. And they've got lots
films.
of people that work with them. And so it's a huge collaborative effort of local filmmakers who are coming in and helping support those students. Namely, Dana Wyatt is like the person who helps make that thing run too. So
now, we are in the middle of it, but will it pick back up as soon as this one ends, another one will begin? Or is this kind of a once-a-year type of deal?
I think it's a once-a-year type of deal. We'll see, though. This is almost like a new pilot. We've done this program before, but this is the first time we're doing it this way. So if it proves successful and 5 weeks works, I don't know, maybe it could happen more than once a year. But for now, to try to make all the other things happen, it'll be once a year.
And if anyone wants to join or maybe get their name on a list?
Yeah.
How do they do that?
So again, just reach out to the WYO Theater. You can call the box office and ask for me, Grace Cannon Wallace. And you can probably find my email on the website as well. But just reach out, and I'm there. I get the phone calls, I get the emails, so I'll let you know.
Fantastic. And we'll, as soon as this is kind of over, we'll figure out, is it going to kick off, or are we going to do it once a year?
Yeah.
And you'll let us know.
Yeah.
Now, I've only got about 3 minutes left.
Okay.
I do want to talk about the creative aging program and poetry class.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about this?
Absolutely. This is coming up, the poetry class that we are running as a creative aging program with a partnership with the Hub. Will start on Friday, April 7th, and it is being led by Tyler Julian, who is a poet and also teaches for Sheridan College. And people might know him from all over the community, but he is going to lead people through a course of reading and appreciating poetry and reciting poetry. And that is, as a creative aging class, that's for people 55 and up. And if anybody's interested in joining that, it's an 8-week class. You can register through the Hub. You can give them a call or go to their website and sign up for that.
How amazing is that? Think of the poetry that will come out of that program.
Yeah.
They should have a poetry reading night.
Yes, we'll do a culminating event, so we'll get that out there.
Okay, that would be fantastic to see. Now, Ye Old Bronc Players. I got about 2 minutes.
Okay, that is being led by Heather Buhans at Sheridan Junior High School. And Ye Old Bronc Players is putting on a Shakespearean play, A Midsummer Night's Dream, in mid-April. So they've been working hard on that for months, and they are doing great. I just got to sit on a rehearsal, and they're having a great time. So the performances are gonna be in the early building there at the junior high, and come check out A Midsummer Night's Dream. It's a shortened version, I'll say.
So it's a bit abridged.
Yeah, it is, to be able to be accessible for the young people, but it's still that language. So those students are really getting practiced at being Shakespearean.
Classical theater training.
Indeed.
Well, at least I would think that is like classical theater training when we go back to Shakespeare. And
Absolutely.
What a challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, Shakespeare is a bit of a challenge,
yes.
Especially for teens in that area, because there's a lot of sophistication to that.
There is, but this is such a great one to do because there's so much humor and there's this special kind of magic, and it should be really fun for the families as well.
Now, real quick, where can people go to learn more about any of these events or courses?
Yeah, so go to wyotheater.com if you want to learn more. And again, I can't say enough, just reach out if you have specific questions. I love chatting with people about what are the opportunities that we have.
Grace, thank you so much for coming in this morning and speaking with me. Your programs are amazing, and I look forward to more. All right, you've been listening to Public Pulse on 930 KROE, 103.9 FM. Share it.
First Federal Bank and Trust would like to recognize another winner